Hey YouTube, how's it going? Felix here. This is my 2022 Subaru Crosstrek Premium with the 6-speed manual transmission, and in this video I've got some sad news for you. I've covered just 6,300 miles in this car. I've owned it about 8 months, and I'm trading the car. I'm getting rid of it. I'm selling my Subaru Crosstrek, and in this video I'm going to explain why I've decided to make that decision to move to something else new. And of course you're going to see my new car in the next video, but yeah, let me explain to you why I'm selling my Crosstrek. Okay, it's pretty cold, so let's get into the car and I'll explain why I'm selling my car. Okay, so yes, this is the Subaru Crosstrek Premium with the manual transmission. So this is the manual and the Premium, which is the nicest spec you can get with the manual transmission. So it has heated seats and that sort of stuff. But other than that, the manual is very, very basic, and that is one of the reasons I'm selling this car. Also, the manual transmission. Let's talk about it. So when I bought this car, I was so keen to have a manual transmission here in the USA. Where I'm from in England, lots of people drive manual cars. It's pretty normal out there, whereas here in the US, they're pretty rare. And I was adamant that when I came to the US, it was a good idea to have a manual transmission car. Even though a few members of my family said, don't get a manual transmission car in America, it's a bad idea, I still went ahead and I bought it anyway. And I have to say, those people who said I shouldn't get one, they were right. It's not really a problem with the manual transmission per se, although I will get onto that. I don't think this manual transmission in the Crosstrek is very good. I think it's okay. I don't think it's great. The real issue is where I live. I live here in Connecticut, in beautiful Connecticut, up in New England, also on the edge of New England, near to New York City, and there is so much traffic around here, so much traffic, that you find that I'm constantly driving in bumper-to-bumper traffic on this big road here called the I-95, and it's a complete nightmare driving a manual transmission car in endless traffic. So that has really made me fall out of love with my manual transmission slightly. Also, so many four-way stop signs around here, and four-way stop signs in manual cars are just not that fun. It's a pain in the ass. So yeah, the manual transmission has been a real problem for me here, and I've really found it quite not stressful, but just annoying driving around here in the manual. And I can really feel an automatic car would be more fun and pleasant to own. And then there's the manual transmission itself in this car. While I think the shifter in the Crosstrek is fine, like it shifts nicely. This is a very nice sort of smooth and it's smooth and decent shifter with decent throw gearing. It's not a sports car, but it's definitely not terrible. And it has got a lot better actually since I've owned the car, and it's sort of bed in. The real problem I find with this car is the clutch. The clutch feel in this Crosstrek is just non-existent. There is no clutch pedal feel at all. It's really weird, honestly, that there's the biting point in the car is so odd to find. There's so much rev hang where the revs drop so slowly when you're in between gears and you have the clutch in. It really is a difficult manual car to drive this. And I'm not just saying that because I'm some sort of idiot. I've driven quite a few different manual cars before, and I really think the Subaru Crosstrek is the most difficult of all the manual cars I've driven to get right. It requires immense practice and precision to get this thing to shift really smoothly, and I still, after 6,300 miles, I still can't do it reliably. I cannot reliably shift this thing perfectly, which is sort of a bit difficult. Yeah, so there's that. And then also, so the manual transmission car, if you want the manual transmission on the Crosstrek, you have to sacrifice quite a lot of other stuff to get it. For example, you can't have the latest interior which Subaru offer, so you can't have the big screen here. You also have to have this very basic gauge cluster. Let me show you. I'll just turn on the ignition. You have to have this very basic gauge cluster, which doesn't have a digital screen in the center here. It has nothing. It doesn't even have a digital speedometer. It will only show you the speed on the dial here, which is very old school. It's a very, very old school setup with the Crosstrek with the manual transmission, and in many ways that's good. It means the car is very basic and it's going to last a long time. Which is great, and I love that, to be honest. I love that thing about this car, but the problem is it's just missing a couple of things, in my opinion, which would really make the car a winner. For example, I have found the lack of a digital speedometer to be really bad. I really want a digital speedometer. I'm so used to that from other cars. I also think the lack of any sort of modern safety systems beyond just airbags and ABS to be pretty, I don't know, pretty poor in today's today's like market, every car out here, every new car has things like, you know, automatic emergency braking and things like that. And I do find that, especially with the way people drive out here in the New York area, they're crazy drivers, having those safety features is actually quite beneficial, especially things like blind spot monitoring as well. That is also a great safety feature, and you don't get that on the premium trim of the Crosstrek, and in fact you cannot get that with the manual transmission. So yeah, it's really just a combination of the manual not being suitable for where I live, and the car just lacking a little bit of technology, which I sort of want, which is making me trade in the car after just 6,336 miles. So yeah, of course you'll see my new car in the upcoming video, but I just wanted to explain that. Other than that, other than the problems with the gearbox, and the reason the gearbox, I just don't love it, other than that, this Crosstrek has been perfect. There have been absolutely no problems whatsoever with it. There have been no mechanical issues. The car's been for one service, one scheduled service at 6 months, which I did. Cost about $130. It was really, really easy. Just an oil change, really. But apart from that, the car has been absolutely perfect. No problems whatsoever. These cars are built like tanks. I'm not saying in this video at all, if you're considering buying a Crosstrek, keep considering it. They are great cars, really, really great cars. Personally, I would just not buy one with a manual transmission. If I were you, I would buy one with a CVT, the CVT gearbox, and I would also make sure that yours is a trim where you get the digital screen in the center of the dash here. So you have the digital speedometer and you have some of that stuff. And of course, if you get the CVT version, you also get the eyesight package, which means you have some of the safety systems, your automatic braking, that sort of stuff. I really think something like a CVT Crosstrek Premium is 100% worth the additional money to get the CVT over the manual gearbox. Okay, before I wrap up here, I just want to mention one other thing about the Crosstrek, which I think is really crappy. It's the OEM floor mats. These damn floor mats. So these are the ones which the dealer will sell you. These are the rubber all-weather floor mats for the Crosstrek. These are the factory floor mats, and they sort of suck. I'm not going to lie. The ones which come here, especially the passenger side, front passenger floor mat, this rubber one, it just constantly slides around, and every time someone gets into the car, it gets shifted way up, because it has no way of anchoring to the floor. There's no pins or anything to hold it into the floor. Whereas on the driver's side, there is a pin. Can you see the pin there? That pin anchors the floor mat in place. But you don't get that for the other ones. And I constantly find the ones in the back as well, they're always shifting around. These OEM floor mats really suck. Sorry to tell you about that. But if you're going to get one of these Crosstreks, please, for the love of God, get some different floor mats. Get some WeatherTechs, or maybe some Huskies, or there's loads of competitors. But just don't get these, because they're really not very good. Okay, so that wraps up my little video of why I'm selling my Subaru Crosstrek. Really just comes down to a mistake that I made. These are my problems, not anyone else's, not Subaru's. I made the mistake of buying a manual car when I really shouldn't have. And I'm going to fix that with my new car, and you'll see that very soon in the next video. I'm definitely not telling anyone I'm not discouraging anyone to buy a Crosstrek. I think these are great cars. You should definitely consider one. Subaru is such a great brand. These are such great cars. You should definitely consider one if you're in the market. Don't be put off by this video. I'll see you in my next video. If you're interested in more car content or anything like this, then please consider subscribing and liking the video, and I'll see you around very soon.